Ukraine's $7,000 fiber-optic drone destroys $55 million bunker, triggers $85 million collapse. Today, Ukraine carries out one of its most technically demanding precision strikes of the year, using a $7,000 fiber-optic guided drone to neutralize a Russian underground command bunker valued at more than $55 million, and triggering total Russian losses, reaching nearly $85 million across the wider sector. What begins as an unlikely approach through tracer fire and electronic warfare becomes a calculated demolition of Russia's fortified nerve center, followed by a visible breakdown of command discipline and logistics. The strike forces Russian officers out of their underground shelters, disrupts coordination across an entire formation, and proves that hardened positions can be turned into traps by low-altitude stealth drones. To understand how this turning point unfolded, the story must return to the moment the mission first began. At 4:53 a.m., inside a forested stretch north of the Vololnik sector, red and green Russian tracer rounds cut across the darkness, shaving past the right rotor of a Ukrainian heavy-lift drone by barely 2 centimeters. The pilot reacted instantly, banking left at nearly 70 miles per hour to keep the craft pressed into the tree line. Ahead of him, set into a reinforced hillside, the hydraulic blast shutters of a Russian underground command node were sliding shut in one of their automatic cycles. The remaining gap measured no wider than a dinner plate. If the drone missed that narrowing slit by even a fraction, the mission would fail. If it struck true, its 30-pound directional thermobaric charge would convert the bunker into a sealed pressure chamber. The pilot understood that within seconds, the shutters would complete their final cycle, and the chance would be gone. 17 minutes earlier, at 4:36 a.m., conditions had formed that Ukrainian planners had been waiting for. Low clouds pushed visibility under 70 yards. For infantry, this was a hazard, but for a low-flying drone, it was cover. In a churned patch of mud 6.1 miles from the target, the rotors of Ukraine's night bomber, callsigned by 27, spooled up for launch. This was not a modified hobby drone. Its frame had been rebuilt from the ground up to carry a directional thermobaric payload on an airframe with just enough lift to survive a low-altitude run. A 3-man team monitored 2 screens, a grainy 5.8 GHz camera feed, and a fiber-optic line tracker. This 800-foot line was vital for control when Russian jammers, specifically a Krasuka 5 electronic warfare vehicle, created a radio blackout. To the north, a Pantsir S-2 air defense system searched the sky for drones and low-flying aircraft. Its radar struggled to resolve targets hidden by the jagged tree line, especially objects flying below 65 feet. That limitation gave Ukraine a narrow opening. By 27's pilot kept the craft at roughly 40 to 44 feet, scraping the treetops to stay masked by the terrain. Any sudden climb above the canopy, even briefly, risked lifting the drone into a clearer radar field and exposing it to a 57 E-6E missile shot. Far ahead of this stealth corridor, 6 sacrificial FPV drones surged forward, initiating the phase that would drive Russian infantry exactly where Ukraine needed them. Into the bunker. Their purpose was not to destroy hardware, but to shape behavior. By 4:41 a.m., those 6 FPV interceptors streaked into the fog at over 95 miles per hour. Stripped down to carbon frames, they were disposable machines built for acceleration. As the swarm cut across the first defensive ring, a gunner manning a PKP Pecheneg machine gun spotted the movement and opened fire. Thick arcs of 7.62 mm tracers lit the haze. One FPV was hit through its battery pack and ignited in a burst of white-hot magnesium. 2 more were torn apart by intersecting lines of AK-15 fire. For the Russian troops, it appeared to be a quick success. They believed they had intercepted a standard drone attack. Shouts of triumph echoed across the trench line. But this reaction was exactly what the Ukrainians had anticipated. While Russian attention remained fixed on the front, the 3 surviving FPVs broke to a stop behind the first trench line, dropping not explosives, but acoustic decoys. Each carried a pyroacoustic module, blending a flash emitter and a concussive charge calibrated to mimic the sound pattern of 152 mm artillery bracketing a position. They detonated in sequence. The shriek of incoming shells rose through the fog, followed by heavy bangs rolling across the tree line. To the soldiers on the ground, the sound matched the opening of a saturation barrage. Panic-stricken, the platoon received orders to retreat into the reinforced bunker. Troops rushed inside, abandoning their positions. Ukraine's trap succeeded. The Russians packed themselves into the bunker, turning their supposed refuge into a sealed kill zone as BY-27 closed in. By then, BY-27 was creeping forward through its hidden lane, the fiber-optic tether unspooling smoothly. Most of the line already trailed along the ground behind it, reducing drag and allowing the heavy-lift drone to maintain speed. But as it closed the final segment of distance, the most dangerous part of the mission began. At 4:57 a.m., a passive sensor aboard the same Krasuchar 5EW truck detected a faint trace of BY-27's residual 5.8 GHz emissions. The Russians reacted instantly, flooding the forest with a rolling curtain of interference. In the Ukrainian dugout, the video feed dissolved into static. A conventional radio-linked drone would have been finished. Instead, BY-27's pilot flipped a metal switch labeled Optic Out, shifting the drone entirely onto its fiber-optic guidance link. The image returned at once, sharp, stable, and immune to further jamming. The Russians believed they had blinded the drone. In reality, it was still moving forward at 47 miles per hour. New threats emerged. The Northern Pantsir S-2 battery lowered its scan to detect low-flying anomalies near the tree line, though dense forest still obscured targets, unless BY-27 rose above the canopy. The pilot kept the drone skimming between 37 and 41 feet, constantly adjusting to ground contours. The fiber line had deployed nearly 2,300 feet behind it. At the bunker, the steel shutters began their automated closing cycle as sensors registered the last wave of incoming personnel. Each plate weighed several tons and moved with hydraulic certainty. Inside, Russian officers focused on their consoles, believing they were sealing themselves away from artillery fire, unaware that the real threat was still seconds away and aimed directly at their entrance. At 5:01 a.m., the assault reached its critical stage. As BY-27 emerged from the last line of trees, a Russian ZSU-32 emplacement opened fire. Twin 25mm autocannons tore the air apart, creating a chain of orange detonations. Shockwaves rattled the drone's camera. One shell burst directly below the left landing spar, ripping away part of the strut and spinning the drone off axis. Battery output dipped hard. BY-27 sank. 21 feet, 17 feet, 14 feet. Climbing meant risk. Any sharp ascent could lift the drone clear of the tree line and into a cleaner radar picture for the Pantsir, inviting a missile salvo. The pilot held altitude, accepting the danger from gunfire, rather than the near certainty of a radar-guided intercept. Then a new threat screamed into view. A Zala 53 Falcon loitering munition assigned to perimeter defense, diving at over 190 miles per hour. BY-27 could not outrun it. It was dragging more than half a mile of fiber line and carrying a heavy warhead. The ZSU crews ceased fire to avoid hitting their own interceptor drone. The duel narrowed to machine against machine. BY-27 had one last defensive measure, a compact microwave disruptor mounted on its top side. It was designed for last resort use, and discharging it risked damaging BY-27's own electronics. But with the Falcon closing in on under 40 yards, hesitation meant failure. The pilot flipped the safety cover and hit the activator. A burst of broadband interference erupted. The Falcon's camera feed collapsed into static. Its telemetry is desynchronized. The munition veered off course, missing BY-27, and slamming into a dirt ridge in a plume of soil and smoke. BY-27 had survived, but the overload scorched its voltage regulators. Motor 4 was now trailing smoke. Battery reserves fell from 38% to 11% in moments. The shutters at the bunker entrance were almost fully closed. At 5:02 a.m., the pilot committed to the final run. The bunker slit measured barely 13 inches wide. No drone could pass cleanly through an opening that narrow while carrying such a payload. The only viable solution was a direct collision targeting the structural hinge. The pilot forced the remaining motors to their thermal ceiling. The frame shook as amperage surged. The ZSU resumed firing. The Pantsir's scan continued to search just above the treetops, ready to exploit any last-second climb. At 5 hours, 2 minutes and 7 seconds AM, by 27 struck. The drone smashed into the hinge bracket at roughly 42 miles per hour, wedging its warhead casing into the narrowing gap before the shutters sealed completely. 2 motors sheared off. The fiber optic line snapped as the steel plates slammed shut, severed by the force of the closing doors. Inside the bunker, Russian officers felt a dull metallic thud echo through the reinforced walls. The sector commander exhaled with relief, convinced the strike had detonated outside and that the bunker was safely sealed. He was wrong. The thermobaric warhead's first stage ruptured, forcing vaporized fuel through the incomplete seal and into the ventilation system behind it. For half a second, nothing happened. Then the second stage ignited, a violent overpressure blast, producing localized spikes approaching 85 psi within the confined chamber, expanded in milliseconds. The pressure wave ricocheted off the concrete walls, doubled back on itself, and annihilated every living thing inside. The blast door, built to resist external strikes, tore off its hinges and hurtled nearly 20 meters across the fog-covered ground. The bunker had become a ruptured tomb. This single strike accounted for roughly $55 million of the nearly $85 million in Russian losses sustained as the wider sector's command structure began to unravel. For 3 days, reconnaissance drones observed a shift. Russian units abandoned at least 6 more underground shelters, leaving maps, radios, and gear near entrances. Officers opted for shallow trenches or surface positions over hardened structures. A rumor spread through the ranks that Ukrainian drones could destroy fortified bunkers from within. Moscow's sector directive limiting the officers allowed simultaneously in fortified underground sites, ostensibly for risk reduction, caused widespread logistical breakdowns. Coordination, previously centralized, fractured into scattered posts using unreliable, jammed short-range radios. Operational efficiency reportedly dropped by nearly 58%. Delayed or missing orders led to misguided patrols and compounded tactical errors into major operational setbacks. Then there was the arithmetic. Ukraine had spent roughly $6,800 on the entire mission, 6 disposable FPV decoys, 1 by 27 heavy lift bomber, 2,800 feet of fiber optic line, and a single-use microwave disruptor. For less than the cost of a mid-range pickup truck, Ukraine eliminated a hardened command node, destabilized a brigade-level sector, and inflicted nearly $85 million in combined structural, equipment, and operational losses. The strike demonstrated a major shift in modern warfare. Fortified bunkers, once safe, became liabilities as precision drones exploited structural weaknesses and human fear. Drone warfare, particularly with interference-proof fiber-optic control, inverted the traditional concept of protection. The shield became a trap. Today's strike raises a larger question that extends beyond this single operation. If a $7,000 drone can neutralize a fortified command node worth tens of millions and trigger nearly $85 million in total losses, what will the battlefield look like when hundreds of such fiber-optic strike drones operate simultaneously against every bunker, command post, and protected site across the front? Share your thoughts below.